What a way to cap off this year. Hello brothers, my name is Daidarius and welcome to the review for Soul. So Soul is a Pixar movie, and not only is it a Pixar movie, it is a Pixar movie like no other movie. It's kind of hard to explain, but then again, all Pixar movies are like no other Pixar. Okay, I'm gonna start from the beginning here. So Soul is about this musician called Joe, or at least he teaches music in elementary school, high school. He teaches music, but he wants more with music because he has this talent, this spark for jazz, or at least jazz on the piano. And his big dream, or more precisely his purpose, his spark, is to play jazz on the big stage. So that's what he wants. And one day he gets the chance to play with an elite saxophone player in a jazz band. And he nails this audition, and now he's gonna play it tonight. Unfortunately, on his way home, he dies. So what happens next is that we get a look into how the great before and the great after works in this universe. And Joe desperately wants to get back to his body because he's not dead until he has moved on to the great beyond, or the great after. So he teams up with Soul 22 to desperately find a way back to his body so he can get to this concert at the night. And together these two are not only trying to get him back to his body, but also trying to figure out what is the great spark that Soul 22 needs to start its life on Earth. Now, no, that's a bit vaguely, but that is kind of the premise of this movie. It's a bit abstract, really, but it's the gist of it. So what did I like about this movie? Almost everything, actually. It has a very interesting premise. It's like, what happens with the soul before you are born, basically? How does it get its quirks, its dislikes, its likes? What does it aspire to be? What is its spark? What is its purpose, so to say? And also, how are you going to show this in an abstract way, considering it is an abstract concept? And Pixar nails it here perfectly. And not only that, but we spend a lot of time in this place without much explanation. We kind of learn as we go and appreciate that aspect. So it's not force-fed into your face, it's kind of just slowly shown to you, and then you kind of get the gist from there. And also the humor in here is, it's general Pixar humor, but it also works well, but it doesn't take front row here. It actually just kind of loosen up these, at sometimes heavy moments, but it's not heavy because that you are feeling the feels, it hits you down here. It's more like it's just some abstract and heavy subjects that it wants to try and cover. That makes them with the animation, Pixar. They know what they're doing. So animation is great, but just the rendering. It takes place in, I can't remember what it takes place in. I think it's, I don't know, Boston, Harlem, New York, which Harlem is part of. I can't remember. It takes place in the big city over in the United States, and it just feels like this place has been lived in and has its own soul, pun intended, and also its own charm. But that has a big contrast with this great before of where souls are made before they're sent to Earth to become a baby. And just the way these characters interact with each other is very genuine, and I really appreciate the way characters interact with each other, and also that this movie doesn't have a big villain, but more importantly, it doesn't try to hit you in the feels like a classic Pixar movie wants, like Inside Out or the Toy Story line or Finding Nemo or Coco or WALL-E or whatever. It doesn't try to do that. It just tries to explain something to you about life that you already know, but you don't really think about. And it does it in a very beautiful way. Actually, just in general, this is just an ode to life itself. That makes sense with the plot in this movie, makes for actually very decent pacing in here. I didn't really feel like I wasted much time in here, and I appreciate we just got to the point from the get-go. There's not much set up here, which is a good thing. That makes sense with the fact that it's trying to handle these heavy subjects, just make this movie work a lot, especially for me. And what I really like about it is it takes its time to show the world through Soul 22's eyes, because Soul 22 has never been born. It has never experienced life before, because it is an unfinished soul. It needs the spark, and we try to find out what the spark is. So we are kind of exploring life through Soul 22's eyes. And through Soul 22's eyes, you get to re-explore the little things in life that you're kind of taking for granted now because you have already experienced them. For example, the taste of pizza, or the feeling of air brushing against you, or music that you hear for the first time, or it could be the warmth of the sun in your face, or a beautiful scenery, or standing at the beach and then have water flowing over the feet, or just all those small aspects of life that we kind of just have gotten used to, but we know are what makes life. This movie really latches itself onto. It makes it relatable for every living soul ever. Everyone can relate to something in this movie. And the fact that the movie doesn't try to do anything with this subject except of just bring it to the forefront, just bring it back to you so you can kind of remember those feelings and how great those small moments in life really are. They are very, very precious, and it is what kind of defines living, is why I think this is a very brilliant movie. And it's also why it's kind of hard to kind of pick out good and bad things about it, because this is the main focus on it. But I will say though, there are a few things I kind of didn't like about it. There's one thing I didn't appreciate at all, but also things that I kind of wish were better. And one of those is that it doesn't really try to dive into this great concept of the great beyond. It also doesn't try to dive into what is the great after. Now, that isn't the main focus of the movie. The movie doesn't focus around death and what happens afterwards. It kind of shows you a glimpse of what it could be, but it doesn't revolve around it. However, in the great before, there's a lot of other interesting concepts that it doesn't really focus on or utilizes as much as it could, mixed in with the fact that when this movie ends, it ends abruptly. I mean, we're kind of building up to a big, fulfilling conclusion to this movie, and then it just ends. And I think it ends too abruptly. It kind of feels like it had like 5 minutes left of screenplay that it just wasn't able to finish before the movie had to be released. I know that's not the case, but it feels like that. And it's really a bummer, because the lead up to the ending is so beautiful and it's relatable, and you really feel it. But again, it doesn't hit you emotionally like the ending of, say, Inside Out or anything, but it hits you in another way. Again, if you're taking into consideration all this, what is life? What is purpose? It just ends too abruptly, and even though that I do feel like the absolute end of it, the final scene of it, is beautiful and sums this movie up just perfectly, I do feel like that there needed something more to actually make it worth that final part. Now, that being said, I do really appreciate the fact that this movie dives into a specific thing. So again, if you're diving back to this spark, the movie revolves around this spark. The spark is, it could be, I'm really good at playing jazz, or I love playing jazz. It could be, I love watching movies, reading mangas, making YouTube videos, or whatever. It could be something that you are very passionate about. This is the spark. But what is the difference between a spark and a purpose? See, some think that they have been born to do this one thing, be a musician, be a politician, being an entertainer, or whatever, be someone who creates things. And someone just feels like that they are very good at it, naturally talented at it, and they just love doing it. But there is a difference between a purpose and a spark, between purpose and something you just really do enjoy. And once you fulfill what you will think is the purpose, like saying being in a specific movie, play, or creating a specific game, or just anything along those lines, once you have done that, will you feel different? Will it automatically be better? Will all life be better? Or will it still just feel and be the same because maybe this thing you thought you were born to do is not the purpose of your life, it's just a driving force of it. And there's a lot more to it that this movie dives into, but I really think it is a very interesting, not only take, but debate or discussion to have. And it made me not really reevaluate my life, but kind of going back through it and just picking out, aspects of my life that kind of fit into this discussion and brought some new light to it. I just have to appreciate I brought the movie for that take on life itself. So, what you get with this movie is that you get great animation, a beautiful setting, a very abstract way to describe what happened before life, what is the purpose of living, what is living actually. However, you will also get a very abrupt ending and not too much explanation or diving into what is this before life thing. So I will say that Pixar's Soul, it is worth watching and worth buying on Blu-ray. And let me tell you, you don't really have to buy it. I mean, you have to buy it on Blu-ray unless you have Disney Plus. So if you don't have Disney Plus, again, it's gonna be hard for you to see it. However, I will say that even though that this movie doesn't hit you emotionally, makes you, get the big feels, cry and emphasize with the person. Even though it doesn't do that, it does make you appreciate the aspect of living more. Not having a good life in regards of material things or ambition or anything. Just the little things that makes life living. It makes you appreciate those more. As I said before, the wind in your face or the sun on your hand, or when you see small things that just for a brief seconds take the full amount of your attention, those little things that just steals those moments are what life is. Or at least it could be what life is. I can't just dictate it, but again, it could be. And just to tie it all together before I end this video, I do feel like that 2020, we can all agree, 2020 has been a bullshit year. It's been a good year in some aspects, most of us, hopefully personally, but for the most part, it's been a bullshit year, right? We didn't appreciate it one bit. We can't just hope that 2021 will just magically make everything better. However, I do feel like that it is well timed that by the end of this year, we get a movie, an enjoyable movie that kind of celebrates living and life itself, to just make us remember, the small important things that helps us, at least me, to get through this hellhole. So, have you seen it? What did you think about it? And how do you think it ranks amongst other Pixar movies? I think it ranks good. I haven't really done a top whatever Pixar movies, but it is up there. It's not perfect, but it's definitely up there. So, whatever you think, comment with me your thoughts. And as always, until see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. Bye! Time to go enjoy living.